How's it going, everybody? My name is SGuyRed. Welcome back to the channel. I've got a little bit of a different video for you guys this time. I'm not going to be playing any games or anything like that. Essentially what I want to do in this video is I'm going to talk to you guys about all the different games that have kind of essentially formed my personality. The games that have made me who I am today. None of these games are in any particular order. They're just kind of my favorite games of all time, and so we're going to go ahead, we're just going to dive right into this list. So without further ado, we are going to jump into the games that changed and made my personality and who I am today. Whatever, fuck you. Starting with the first one, you have probably heard the theme song for this game in your local Walmart bathroom or your local men's restroom, but for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, let me refresh your memory a little bit. Everyone knows this theme song. If you are a gamer and you don't know this theme song, I am revoking your gamer license. You don't get to play games anymore if you don't know this game. Halo 2. Oh my god, I remember that was like the recipe for a great night, or like a fantastic start to a weekend. You just hang out with the boys or whatever friends you have, you get some pizza, and you broke out Halo 2, and that was a sick night. That was a night that like you guys would talk about for weeks. I even remember just doing like the actual campaign for the game as well was still so much fun. You and just one other person, you just got in there and you fucked shit up, and that's exactly what the game wanted you to do, and that was so awesome. That was a huge part of my childhood, and I'm getting this giant rush of nostalgia through my entire body right now because of it. I remember there's so many times where me and a friend or me and one of my siblings would try to play the campaign on legendary mode, and we fucking sucked. If you were looking to just have a good ass time and you had a friend over or multiple friends and you just were looking to have a great time, this was the game that you broke out, and everyone fucking loved it. And that was one of my favorite parts of the entire game, was the fact that just everyone was so cool with it. That was always just like a classic party game, and it was just brilliantly done, Microsoft. Next on the list, we have Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. This game, oh my god. I wasted so much of my childhood playing this game with my brothers. It was insane. I can still vividly remember the music for it. I can still vividly remember exactly what you're supposed to do. I remember doing all the different combos that you can do in the game, going through the different parts of the story and how like it would transition from the game to the actual cutscene from the movie and how it would transition back and forth between them. I vividly remember that, even though I haven't played the game in probably a decade. I remember it came out or I had it for the GameCube. I think it may have been out for like PS2 and stuff as well, but I remember having it for the GameCube. And I was just such a huge fan of the Lord of the Rings series, and I still am to this day. It is so fun to play, whether you played it for the first time or you're playing it for the 900th time. It is just such a fun game to play, especially if you are super into the series. Even if you're not into the actual series of Lord of the Rings, playing this game is still fun. And when I was a kid and played it with my brothers, or I'd play it with friends that would come over every once in a while, it was always a good time, no matter what. And that was one of the reasons why it became one of my favorite games, was just because I wasted so much of my childhood playing it, and it's just hands down one of the greatest games I've ever played, and that's why it holds a very, very special place in my heart. Alright, now we're going to be moving on to the next spot. So this one is actually two games. It's actually technically an entire series of games, but these two in particular are my favorite. And those two games are Tony Hawk's Underground 1 and 2. Boy, these games were iconic, man. These games had such amazing soundtracks to them. For those of you who have never played the Tony Hawk's Underground series, or just any of the Tony Hawk games in general, let me tell you something about the soundtrack. If you are DJing for a party, or you were hanging out with friends and you were in charge of music, if you put on any Tony Hawk's soundtrack, it's gonna slap. I just remember it's because of these games that it turned me on to so many different styles of music, so many different artists that are now some of my favorites of all time. It introduced me to, bands like Lamb of God and Jimmy Eat World. It turned me on to artists like Deltron 3030 and so many different artists, you know, because that was one of the beautiful things about the game, was it didn't just have just rock music or just rap music or just like this certain type of music. The playlist would just kind of skip through so many different styles of music, and it was so awesome. You'd just be sitting there playing in the warehouse, just skating along, and suddenly NoFX is playing. And then after that, you got Deltron 3030 that's playing after that. Then you got Lamb of God that comes on after that. And it was just such a good game to play. And these were so fun once you really got into them. I remember doing everything in my power to just rack up the highest combo I possibly could. And, you know, a lot of times that involved cheating. And I was a kid. I don't give a shit. Fuck you. These games, again, still kind of stand up today. Even though, like, God, I don't even know when those games came out. They must have been like 2000... I want to say like 2007, 2008, something like that, was when Tony Hawk's Underground 1 came out, I think. And then I think Underground 2 came out in like 2009, something like that. I have no idea. Future me, tell me if I'm right or if I'm wrong. If I'm right, give me a super awesome, like, give me a party on the screen. If I'm wrong, delete my channel right now. Alright, if you guys haven't figured it out by now, I was very influenced and loved multiplayer games when I was a kid. And this one was one of the greatest multiplayer games of all time. It was one of the greatest fighting games to ever exist, and anyone who tries to argue with me is wrong. But the game that takes the next spot has to be Super Smash Brothers. Oh my God, I have wasted I didn't even waste time. This was not time wasted. This was time very well spent. Yeah, specifically playing Smash Melee. Oh my God. This was the game where it could be so many things. It could be if you wanted to like pass time by yourself, there was a lot to do in the game. Then if you had another friend come over, you could obviously take turns beating each other's asses, which I have definitely done that. I have both beaten ass and gotten my ass beat. And that is something that still happens to this day. It's just one of those things. I'm either good or I'm not. Like, I either do well and I'm able to talk a bunch of shit, or I get my ass kicked and then I just kind of sit there like, yeah, good job. It's one of the classic fallback games where even if someone who has never played it before or someone who's played it 100 fucking times, you pull out a Smash game and people are gonna play. People are gonna congregate around the TV and play that game. It's one of those things where you could just be hanging out with a buddy and play it, or there have been times where entire parties have been around playing this game. And it's just one of those games that's just so much fun. And I loved that so much that it could be whatever you wanted. If you wanted it to be a single player game, it could be a single player game. If you wanted to play with one person, you could play with one person. If you want, now you can play with like 8 people on a screen. And I know there's gonna be a lot of people out there that are like, "Ooh, Smash game fucking suck. It's all about Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, or Tekken." You already know that it was so much fun to whoop someone's ass as Donkey Kong, or Kirby, or Mario, or fucking Link. Like, you could use one of your all-time favorite childhood characters and use them and beat someone's ass. And I will challenge anyone to play some Smash. Whether I'm gonna win or not, I'm gonna have fun. And that's what's important with this game, and that is why it is on my list of my favorite games of all time, and it always will be, and it will forever hold a super special place in my heart. Alright, the next one on the list is a little more of a cult following. I know there's a lot of people that don't like these games, and then there's a lot of people that I've met that fucking love this game. And I'm talking none other than Dark Souls. You know, I was so used to games like Legend of Zelda and these kind of games that are somewhat like hand-holdy in the way that you played the game, where they were like constant reminders of what you're supposed to do. I had played all the games that I had like 40 times, and this was the only game that I had that I'd never beaten before, but I was like, this is too hard. The game's too hard. It sucks. It's too hard. I can't do it. I was shocked at how easy the game becomes when you play as a sorcerer. After beating the Asylum Demon, I had so much confidence. I felt like I could take on the entire world of Dark Souls. And from there, I just started falling in love with the game. And one of my favorite parts about it is through failure, over and over and over and over again, you're kind of forced to memorize everything in the game. You know where everything is. You know exactly what's coming up. That was my first taste of like a real RPG style game where you had to pay attention to like combat cycles and how the boss fights and like what his moves are. Because I was very much the type of person that was just kind of like going guns blazing, just swinging your sword randomly and just hoping for the best. And I was definitely the person that even though I would hold a shield or something like that, or I knew how to block in a game, I would never do it. But Dark Souls was definitely the first game that taught me the importance of dodging and rolling and blocking and parrying and just everything that combat is nowadays in video games. It was all because of Dark Souls, and the game is so influential not just on players but on other game developers as well. There are so many games that come out now that have like combat that say it's Souls-like, that it has Dark Souls style combat. And that's just because Dark Souls was one of the first games to really revolutionize like the sword and shield style combat. But again, this is just one of those games that holds such a special place in my heart just because it kind of taught me what video games can be. And once you finally get past that challenge, it's so worth it. It's so rewarding. I've never experienced anything like that until I played Dark Souls, until I really fell in love with the game. And from learning that and from experiencing that firsthand, it's kind of like set like a little bit of a precedence for what I expect other games to be like, because now that I have, spent so much time of my life playing that game, I really, really enjoy combat like that in games now. And whenever something isn't like that, it feels a little lackluster, a little boring to me. And so essentially what I'm saying is Dark Souls has ruined my life. We are nearing the end of this video, and I'd like to thank you so much for sticking with me so far. So, without further ado, we're going to get into this last game that, although I said none of these were in any particular order, I think it's pretty safe for me to say that this is my favorite game of all time. And that game is none other than Fable. The original Fable. This game, I have no words. I love this game so goddamn much. I have never played a game as many times as I've played Fable. While, yeah, I do have like 600 something hours in Dark Souls, that's maybe spread across like 2 or 3 save files. Whereas with Fable, I think it's safe to say I have beaten Fable at least 20 times now. I wasn't a huge fan of Fable 2, and Fable 3 is straight up garbage. We don't say that name here. We don't talk about that game. But the original Fable was so cool. It was the first game that taught me that sometimes decisions that you make in the game can impact things later in the game. It was like the first real decision consequence kind of game that I'd ever really experienced. And I also just loved the fact that you could either be extremely good in the game, or you could just be fucking evil in the game. And I obviously did both. It was so much easier being bad than good, because then you don't have to care about anything. You can just go around, you could fart on people, you could smack people with your sword and not give a single shit. Whereas if you're trying to be good, you have to watch everything that you're doing. You can't do one thing out of line, or you're gonna get evil points, and then you're gonna feel terrible. And then you gotta return the game, and you gotta sell your Xbox because you're done. Your game's over. You're finished. And again, that was just one of those games that just had such beautiful music in it. I can still vividly remember going to Bowerstone for the first time, or going to Oakvale for the first time, or going into the Dark Woods, and just experiencing all the ambiance that the game throws at you on top of all the unique enemies, the kind of weird and quirky combat style. I would just sit there and I would just play Fable all day long on my little 10-inch TV that I had that had like the built-in like VHS play. Like that kind of ages me a little bit. It's like the fact that my TV had a built-in VHS player in it. This game just checks every box for me. It has amazing music. It has such great sound design. The voice acting is actually pretty great. The animations for them talking is super cringe, which I hated as a kid, but now when I go and I replay it, I fucking love it, dude. The combat was fun, the skills were amazing, leveling up was super fun. It was just such an all-around great experience playing this game, and the story is fantastic. Everything in the game is super unique, and it really defined how games were made at that point. That's exactly why it will always hold a extremely special place in my heart. And like I said, I can say with pretty much 100% confidence that Fable is my favorite game of all time. It's the only game that I have beaten like 20 something times, and I can still go back and play it and still have just as much fun. I can't really say that about a whole lot of games. Every new thing that the game threw at me, I just fell in love with. The combat, the voice acting, the music, the story, everything I just loved. And so that's exactly why it is solidified as my favorite game of all time. But that is gonna do it for this video. That is my list of games that have, you know, kind of changed my life and have kind of formed the personality that you see in front of you right now. Now that I've done my list, I kind of want to know what your guys' favorite games are. So if you want to go ahead and leave a comment down below of your 6 favorite games, whether they be some of the ones that I've mentioned here already, or if they're ones that I didn't even think of like when I was creating my list. I'd love to hear the kind of games that you guys love playing, and I'd love for us all to just have a discussion about it. But with all that being said, I'm going to leave this video off right here. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I do put out content every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. Make sure to mark it on your calendar, or better yet, if you could do me a huge favor, just so I don't have to berate you every time I want you to watch a video, if you go down and you just see that little subscribe button that hopefully you've already hit by now, you see that little bell? You see that little bell down there? Do me a favor. Go ahead and click on that. So that way I can stop telling you guys when I put out videos, and you'll be notified when I put out videos. Oh, dude. I hope you like, comment, and subscribe, because that sort of thing does really mean a lot to me. It helps other people see these videos, and that brings me one step closer to world domination, which is something that I'm becoming a pretty big proponent of. So if we can make that happen, that'd be great. So one last time, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope to see you guys in the next one. And as always, my name is SGuyRed. Take care.